Hello and welcome to this brief battle recap of my recent AOS game. This is basically a very casual game since I'm just starting to learn the ropes of this game and I'm running a quite technical army, or at least an army with lots of specialist units, etc. and orders and what have you. We didn't bother with a grand strategy here, we basically just wanted to play a scenario, roll some dice and kill some rats, or yeah, long shanks I guess. So 3 central objectives where you get a victory point for holding one of them at the end of your turn, and 1 extra if you hold one more than the opponent holds. So I'm running a Cities of Sigmar army here, painted up in the colors of Lethis, though I kind of jump back and forth between the actual city I choose for the game at hand. This time, given that I reinforced my Flagellant battle line with 10 extra, I wanted to try out the Vindicarum, but I ended up getting very little out of that actual improved rally from the actual sub-faction bonus, but I previously only used the Greywater Fastness for those sweet triple all-out attacks for ranged attacks, but with the Warforger nerfed to only melee on his blazing weapon, he was kind of bound to run with the suicidal Flagellants instead. So the list was basically this: General Pontifex Sinistra, a Matriarch of the Great Wheel. I had 4 heroes here, Galen van Dienst, but I used the very viable proxy model of Glario van Alten III, I think, from the Cursed City books. Also a very cool model here, painted up beautifully by Matthias, and also he has a very similar loadout, so yeah, why not use him? It's a beautiful model. Haskell Hexbane. The Hexbane Hunters are one of my absolutely favorite warbands to play in Underworld, so I think they are very thematic and really that old school witch hunter look. The Alchemite Warforger, also an amazing model. He had the transmutation of lead here. Don't think I ever used it in the game though. He mostly uses that blazing weapon. But transmutation of lead could be a very useful spell versus like a unit of clan rats. I had a battle wizard on foot, painted up like an old school bright wizard. He obviously took a fireball just for rule of cool, and it also proved fairly dangerous against a unit from Clan Rat one time during game. He has an Ancient Grimoire to improve that casting roll as well. And my 6th and final hero is the Cavalier Marshal, the Free Guild Cavalier Marshal, also a fantastic model. My battle lines was that reinforced Flagellant units, that's 20 suicidal people. I have 1 unit of Steel Helm, they just ended up standing in my back to guard one of those no holes or whatever they are called that the Skaven can bamf from one side to the other. So yeah, but it's just 100 points, so I guess they can babysit that one. I had also 1 unit of Fusiliers. Other or miscellaneous units, I had the Hexbane Hunters, the actual warband, the Wildercorpse Hunters, it's the Warcry warband that you get paired with the Gorgeous, and I have 1 unit of Cavaliers and a Great Cannon. So a pretty all over the place list, but I don't really care about meta lists. I buy cool models primarily, and if I can make an army out of it, that's awesome. And my opponent Dennis here, he's probably very much the same. He buys models because they are awesome to paint. And he is a fantastic painter, and his Skaven are a sight for sore eyes. Here is his list. General is the Grazier on Screaming Bell, a fantastic model. I think all the Skaven models are awesome to look at, especially with his paint jobs. The Grazier on foot, Thankwall and Bone Ripper, that's and he's just finished up that model, so it looks amazing. For battle lines, he has I think 3 or maybe 4, I think it's 3 units of 20 clan rats, and he's running 6 Storm Fiends, quite nasty there, both in like range and melee. He has 1 Behemoth, which is the Forge World Hell Pit Abomination. It's equally beautiful and horrifying to look at. It's a fantastic paint job. It looks amazing, but it's for a person like me who really hates rodents, I have a hard time looking at it. It's too real almost. For miscellaneous units, he has the Rattling Gun and the Warp Fire Thrower. So Dennis gave me the first round. He finished deploying first, but he gave me the first round, where I basically just moved everything up. I used the advanced information on a couple of units to claim that middle objective as well, to cash in on 3 glories initially here. So no shooting here, as both my Fusiliers and my cannon was like 2-3 inches shy of being in range, so they basically just moved up and fortified. Otherwise, I just ran with everything. Sinestra failed her initial prayer, and Thankwall dispelled most of my spells during the course of the entire game basically. He has +4 on those spell rolls and the casting rolls, so yeah, that's pretty nasty. During Denny's first round, it was pretty much just moving as well. Then during the second round, the Cavaliers with a finest hour marshal in tow charged and killed an entire unit of clan rats with little to no effort down the left flank. When the marshal carries out the finest hour and is close to the Cavaliers, both units get the strike first rule, and they are also +1 rend and damage on the charge to those Cavaliers. So that's, yeah, that was just a pile of blood on the ground there. Then it was just basically a slogfest back and forth between the flagellants and a unit of clan rats supported by the storm fiends. The flagellants were actually quite sturdy with that 5+ ward from Sinestro hiding behind that ruined windmill on the middle of the board. She also managed to deal out a fair amount of mortal wounds with her prayer. Outside the deployment zone, she can choose 2 effects for her prayers, so that's awesome. I think she's a very useful model. So the flagellants, as I said, was quite sturdy, and they dealt out quite a few mortal wounds when they died as well via that glorious martyr ability. I just think that's super fun and thematic. Yeah, all of these storm fiends took my cannon down to 4 wounds in like the first or second round. It actually stayed on 4 wounds and I could utilize it a lot. So I killed off I think 2 or 3 storm fiends, so it really paid for it. And in the third turn via the supply run, I all-out attacked with my Fusiliers. I shipped off a fair amount of wounds on that Screaming Bell, which was later then finished off with the Arch-Knight from the command course. Also, since the Warforger basically is a support hero for melee units now, he ended up tanking and actually killing a shit ton of clan rats with his Tongue Staff, which was kind of unsuspected and very hilarious. We called it after the third round. I had basically held my closest objective and the middle one for the entire game, blocking the way off with several units locked in melee and with fire support from the cannon, Fusiliers and the Willicops hunters down the right flank as well. We were also out of time, so he might certainly have evened the scoring a bit if we would have continued. And Dennis is a super good sport as well. I mean, he gives me quite a lot of tips during the course of the game, so he could certainly have outperformed me here. It was a super fun game, very bloody battled, which it should be between 2 relatively glass cannon factions. Running flagellants and little like specialist units like the Hexbanes that can do mortals at the end of combat. I think a lot of super fun units here. It's a lot to keep track of, but I really like the Swiss army knife that this army is. And playing against the very random Skaven is super fun as well. If you would like to see more recaps for Age of Sigmar or any of the other like specialist games that we play, like Necromunda or Warcry, let us know, as it's always useful for me to know what you enjoy seeing here. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. I'll let the end credits roll now. Bye. This is Mats again, chiming in to thank you for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like and comment, and to not miss out on future content, ring the bell as well. And if you really liked this video, feel free to click the thanks button just below this video. And if you want to support me even further, you can now become a channel member and claim the title of Critical Focus Fan. Until next time, take care, bye.